Jets and drums.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Radio.
Did we lose that?
Good evening. It's 6:30 on 3rd of September. Welcome to the Universal City Council. Call for the quorum check.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick? Here. Councilmember Bulman? Here. Councilmember Goolsby?
Here.
Councilmember Putt?
Here.
Councilmember Rubal?
Here.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight, the invocation will be Councilmember Rubal, and I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the recent gift of rain. Give this council wisdom to place the needs of our residents before our wants. May we be good and faithful stewards for all of our residents. May we have compassion for those in need and allow all residents to enjoy the fruits of the labor. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And if I'm correct, I don't think we have any city manager reports tonight. Is that correct?
City manager report. Yes, sir, thank you. Just a couple of items. These next year probably under announcements, but Maribel was kind enough to type up for you some of the September events that we have coming up. So if you could get those on your calendar, and then also let her know if you're intending to go, so we can take care of you appropriately for those specific events. And then also on the minutes, there was a change made on one of the motions, and Maribel was kind enough to print that out for you and highlight it in yellow so that you'll know that the change was made to the minutes. Thank you, sir.
Actually, we're going to do citizens to be heard, and this is an area we discussed city item that's not previously listed on the agenda. No action will be taken by the council, and we have one person signing up, Ms. Eberhardt.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Ken Eberhardt. I live at 736 Gardner Drive. Mr. Mayor, at the public hearing on the tax rate, you made it sound like I had done something wrong for requesting to speak when I am not signed in to do so. I imagine by now you're finding this job is not nearly as easy as you had envisioned. Chairing a meeting takes knowledge, skill, and finesse. The chair is a leader, not a boss or manager. The chair knows the rules they are operating under and applies them in a fair and consistent manner. A leader does not need to fear the free expression of ideas nor the free flow of information, for the end goal is to do the best, be the best chair, the best council, and yes, the best city. Section 1-1-13 of the Code of Ordinances, Rules of Decorum for Council Meetings. Section B, Public Hearings, states in part, quote, individuals who have signed in shall be invited to speak first. Before closing the public hearing, the presiding officer shall invite others to speak, end quote. Mistakes provide an opportunity to learn and to grow. There are 2 more public hearings this evening. I trust they will be conducted accordingly. On a different note, this being the 4-year anniversary of my first appearance before this body, it is only fitting to give a big shout out to everyone who has joined in this arduous journey to bring accountability and transparency to UC City government. I want to thank everybody who has worked with me on being a part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eberhardt. Actually, the council says that we signed it in, And all those people who do sign in can talk, and there's nothing that says that will require other people to go in. I just want to let you know. But we will turn that over to the legal firm later on to clarification.
It's in the ordinances, so I said that I can get the
As I
section
said,
number.
we'll turn it over to the legal for further review, and we'll go from there, if we can. And thank you for your input. Because we do not want to stymie anyone, but we want to keep the motion going on and keep communication going. Now, with that being said, we do have that's all the citizens to be heard. We have a public hearing for FY 24-25 budget, second hearing, and I have no one signed up for that.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So just so everybody understands, this is our last public hearing for the budget, and so we'll do that public hearing. Christine will do her presentation, we'll close it, and then we'll have our public hearing, second public hearing for the tax rate. Later, when we get down into votes, you'll be voting 3 times. The first one is a resolution adopting the budget, and that is only 1 reading. And then you'll have a resolution identifying the additional tax revenue through the budget, which primarily came through new properties added to the tax roll, which is a resolution. That will be done once. Then you have an ordinance where you'll be approving the tax rate. Whoever makes the motion on the tax rate in your packet, we spelled it out. You need to say an M&O rate of, an INS rate of, and a total tax rate of for the official record. And then we'll have a vote. And then on September 17th, will be your second vote on the tax rate. And once that meeting is done, then we will put this budget cycle behind us. And in a few months, we'll start again. Thank you. Ms. Green?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There were a few updates that we had to do to the budget due to the tax rate being a little bit lower than we anticipated. Can you click it for me, please? Thank you. For the general fund, we updated it by removing or postponing the mobile equipment that was scheduled to be purchased for general services. And then for Parks and Recreation, we postponed the purchase of a vehicle. The summary on page 2 has been updated. You should have a copy of that. And per council's direction, we have been $700,000. If you have any questions about the summary, please let me know. The only thing that's been updated on there is the general fund, the golf course fund, and stormwater. So can you do the next slide? So now the budget for the general fund is going to be $19,828,122 for expenditures and revenues, and again, that's going to be a balanced budget. Stormwater has a total revenues of $1.5 million, and the total expenditures, including CIP, is $1.5 million. So again, this is going to be a balanced budget. The stormwater summary has been updated to show the CIP expense, and I think the summary at some point didn't have all that information, so we've ensured now that both that is on the summary for stormwater as well as in capital improvements. Then the next slide. There was a change to the Persia storm drainage project. The only thing that happened was it was originally budgeted at $609,000, and after Randy looked to see what he had to carry over, it was actually $650,000, so we've changed it by that $40,000. Next slide. Total revenues for the golf course are $4.4 million. Total expenditures the same, approximately $4.4 million. We've added $72,000 to other contract services under general and admin. This is to be used for the development of a business plan for the golf course. If for any reason they exceed that, we'll have to determine where they can cut back somewhere else in order to cover it. And that's really it.
Okay. Since nobody has signed up for talking, we'll go ahead and close the public meeting at 6:40. And we'll open up public hearing for 2024 tax rate to support the FY 2024-25 budget, second hearing. And there has no one has signed in, so we'll need a response.
The The maintenance and operations is going to be 0.436882. Debt services is 0.077500 for a total tax rate of 0.514382. And that's per council.
Okay. There, again, there's nobody signed up, so that will close the meeting.
I'd like to speak, please, sir.
I'm sorry, the meeting is now over, and we'll discuss it later on.
Miss City Attorney?
Mayor,
Yes.
it sounded to me like you were closing that public hearing on the tax rate. It's up to you, sir, as the chairman, to determine whether you want to allow the citizen to speak.
Thank you. I think we've had ample time to sign it. If it's been that important, she could have signed up since she was aware of it.
That's a violation of my rights now.
The, next will be announcement, city manager's announcements.
Thank you, sir. All the announcement I had are typed out in front of you, and that has to do with the upcoming ribbon cuttings, the new green at Olympia Hills and the events that they're having. And then we have some networking training that we provided for council. And again, if you could just let Maribel or myself know if you're planning to attend so that we can either get the appropriate agendas put up or make payment for you if necessary. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Council members' announcements, and as custom, I'll start with the person who gives the invocation. Councilmember Rubal, you may start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple items to bring up. One has to do with just a point of clarification of our park preservation issue. Prior to the last meeting, there was somewhat of an issue with regard to a person reserving a portion of Red Horse Park, but he was a for-profit organization, and there was some confusion with regard to his reservation between he and the city. And some issues that came out of that were essentially the request by that individual for greater transparency and fairness. So I will defer to either Randy or the city manager to determine one, whether that particular issue was resolved and the person got their refund back, and two, there's a consistent policy for parks reservation that is fair and transparent. And again, we can have that come up offline, but I think there were some issues at the city that would be good to make sure that it does get clarified in the future if it hasn't already. Number two, I'd like to thank the city manager, Randy, and the staff for allowing me to ride with them through the city. Essentially, I got a little bit of their eyes, and they probably got a little bit of my eyes in it. And Maribel, if you'll bring up the tab on the email to you, I'd appreciate it. And some of the things that we looked at were things that citizens commonly had complaints for. One had to deal with essentially the maintenance of alleyways. Now, Randy has in this budget $200,000 plus a $45,000 engineering survey for update of an alleyway. And I'm pretty sure, based on our discussions, that this year's budget is going to be dedicated to the C5 area, if that's correct. And basically, the C5 area will be alleyways that include alleyways adjacent to the businesses along Aviation. Actually, these alleyways didn't have paved surfaces before. And the budget has essentially paved surfaces being placed in there. There's no particular objection with that need. The thought is that since that is within the Aviation District, that essentially our Economic Development Committee could bone up a little bit more for infrastructure. They're either cost sharing or something, just good faith effort in getting that taken care of. That, of course, would reduce our need for tax revenue, which I know is out of the discussion for tonight. Number 2 and number 3 in that review was that Randy is committed to fix the alleyways where there are residents that have standard parking behind their houses, which I think is a very good deal. And I learned something very, very interesting. That is, essentially, those alleyways were not put in by the city, but rather they were put in way back when by the contractors for the development, and probably were not quite to what the city standard would have been back then or what they should be now. So basically, there will be a fair amount of effort, I understand, from Randy to address the alleyway issues in the paved area where people need access to rear parking in the next few years. And I hope that he is able to provide some updated information for residents on that so they know where they sit in line. That being said, knowing that Bear is going to present something about bugs, I'm going to give them a few areas that are bugs. Okay, this actually is one of the areas that is scheduled for pavement, and it's actually the area. That area is essentially designated as an A something or other by Randy, and it essentially parallels Kitty Hawk and worked its way up to Amstead. And if you can see, the city's actually responsible for areas to the sound barrier, the way I understand it. And there's a need for tender loving care. Just going through this area, Randy said, hey, this needs done, and the second in command, by gosh, I got there the next day and there was a drainage area that was mowed, and I appreciate that. Next slide, please. And this is the area that Randy addressed relatively quickly. Next slide. You can see that our alleyways, other alleyways, need some tender loving care that actually, if you were to zoom in on it, is probably a 9-point buck that's browsing in the alleyway, partly because it was moved out of North Lake, but it's a beautiful deer type thing. But again, there are two issues here: code compliance and also the city's maintenance of their right-of-way. Next slide, please. An issue that is significant, particularly in high rains, where perhaps a small child might be flushed down through the drain in the high rain area, and also to keep vagrants out of the area. Next slide. A lot of alleyways have low clearance. I have a high clearance vehicle, and essentially this is actually one of the, not the worst one, but it's the one I had a quick picture of. There are areas that are a standard car cannot go through without going through the bottom, hitting the bottom. Next slide. This is a great area for Bear. It actually isn't too far away from Councilman Fitzpatrick's house. It's within a half a block of Councilman Fitzpatrick's house. And so you can see that both the city's part and right and left sides for code compliance need address. Next slide, please. And this is my little Blazer, 2003 Blazer, easily making its way through by dodging things right and left type thing. Next slide. Good place for bugs, Bear. Essentially, there are hazards in these areas. So if we send a police car down through these alleyways, essentially, they will not necessarily be able to detect some of the hazards that are in their way. The same thing through for just residents walking down the alleyways, and that was a good example of that. Next slide, please. And just a little more alleyway issues, going a little further. An issue with alleyways is essentially where the cabling is, particularly for Spectrum. I brought this up as a resident a long time ago, and it still exists as an issue that they're pretty superficial. So if Randy does do something with the alleyways, it's going to cause a need for interface with Spectrum. And the last slide, please. Well, almost the last slide. Essentially, this is a Schertz vehicle. It's not a Ford, it's a Chevy. I think it's a Colorado. I bring this up because I think we have to look at what the needs of our staff are versus their need for vehicles. There are a lot of vehicles that are of lesser expense than we're going out for, and I would bet that it's a real review of staff needs to consistently drive F-150s. It may not be appropriate in all cases, so our sister city uses a cheaper service vehicle, and this is just one example that I found that I thought I'd bring up. Next slide, please. And this is just to remind me that the comprehensive plan will become, probably has come to staff already, or they're involved in planning type thing, and soon, and there's a schedule out for it to come to council and other venues for getting information from people, and I encourage all residents to participate in the venue for the comprehensive plan. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rubal. That actually was very, very informative. And I'll have a couple of comments, Mr. Randy, on my statements afterwards to fall in line with the conversation you and I had about 3 years ago. Let's go this way, Mr. Vaughan.
Pleasure to meet you, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Beer.
Oh my gosh, I had a lot to say, but now it's... So I've been neglecting my bugs. Maribel was kind enough. So everybody's got an issue. Do you mind? I'm ready for the first one. So everybody knows what these guys are. These are the grub worms, right? The white ones are beautiful, healthy grub worms, make great bait. You can throw them in the street. The birds love them. You see the two that are above my two white ones. It wasn't diazinon, triazinon, any of those poisons. Go ahead, Maribel. It was that little guy, a nematode. So it's a beneficial nematode. Nematodes come in all sorts, well, they come really small, but they're all different kinds. There's good ones, there's bad ones. They have different nematodes that attack different types of bugs. But the beneficial ones, what I like about them is that they don't attack your earthworms. You can get types that don't affect caterpillars because they stay down in the soil pretty hefty, the depth that they do. They are non-segmented, colorless roundworms. They're usually microscopic. They are not really good for if you have stuff up in the tree canopy and the leaves. They don't really do anything there because, again, they're in the soil. There are bad nematodes that will attack your plants, and they're more parasitic for plants, but that's why you order them from somebody online, and you get them in a little sponge, and you soak it, and we'll talk about that in a second, but there's no harmful effects on earthworms, plants, animals, humans. Basically, I've showed you pretty fun little pictures of ladybugs in the past. Well, no fun, because it's just a worm. So their life cycle is an egg, 4 larval stages, and an adult stage. And that third larval stage is when they seek their host, and that's when they do that, make brown grub worms. They will kill a grub worm in 24 to 48 hours because they get into that little guy, and these little guys carry a bacteria that kills that grub worm, not earthworm. These nematodes are tolerant of most insecticides, herbicides, and fertilizers. Let's see, the nematodes cannot develop in vertebrate type animals, so you're safe.
My dog.
Your dog has a vertebrae, so they're good. Basically, you get a little spongy of them, you put it into a spray or in a watering can. You want to do it when the soil is warm and moist. Irrigate your ground before and after introducing them to your soil. Your soil temperatures are ideally between 55 and 90 degrees, and you also ideally want it to be in filtered sun. So there's a nematode. He doesn't wash into the streams and cause things to go crazy, or he doesn't attack your earthworms, he doesn't affect your caterpillars, there's certain types again. And they're good for that, and they don't make your dog itch. So that's all. Well, I have other things, but we're good to go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can you come up with one that kills mosquitoes?
That's what we need.
Dragonflies. So you asked, dragonfly larvae live in water. So if you have a garden, you have a pond like that, the dragonfly, we'll talk about that next time. Thanks for the idea. All right.
Councilmember Bulman,
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
just by the way, we've loved the expressions on your face while the nematodes were on camera. Councilmember Putt?
I'm almost speechless, but not quite. And Bear, I can tell, he loves his bugs and his flowers. I see him almost every other morning out working on them, so it's all good information. I just want to encourage everybody to come to, we've got some great ribbon cuttings coming up. One is Daniels and Daniels on September 6th, and the other one is Daniels Resellable. And we just want to welcome our businesses, show them that the city's behind them, show them that the residents are behind them. Come, yay, clap, buy something, eat something. But let's start everybody trying to get to as many ribbon cuttings as we can, because these small businesses put a lot of heart and soul and money into getting started here. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem?
I was going to say, first of all, when I was elected, I had no idea that I would be getting science lessons. So thank you for continuing my science education. I appreciate that. I'm super excited about the announcement of Chick-fil-A going in on Kitty Hawk. I think that's a great addition to our community. I know there's been controversy about which would be better or which wouldn't be better, but bottom line is Chick-fil-A wanted to make an investment in coming into our community, and I think that's great. I think we'll all benefit from that. And I also wanted to say that I've started attending Sub-Judson meetings, and one of the things that's coming up that I'm not sure that everybody in our community is aware of is that they are looking at the possibility of closing at least one elementary school, and the population is such that it's going further north, and so I think probably Coronado is potentially on the list, and so we need to be paying attention to those kinds of activities because that's something that impacts our community and our city. So I'll be going to those as I get more information. I will definitely bring that back here and report on it.
Thank you. A few announcements for this right here. First of all, Friday is going to be our collaboration workshop. Basically, it's designed to effectively help us conduct people's business. I just want to reiterate to everyone that this is strictly a workshop. There's not going to be any votes. There's no votes or decisions, consensus or anything of this nature. It's just a collaboration to further our better utilization in conducting people's business. Another subject is about a week and a half ago, I got a phone call from Representative John Vaughan, our House 118 representative. He was in the local area volunteering with Meals on Wheels. Now, we all know about Meals on Wheels. What I didn't know is that I know that they're in Universal City, but I've never really worked with them. I got the opportunity to accompany the group, and we delivered about a dozen meals around this town. Talking to one of the supervisors there, I've invited him to come and to speak to council and to the population for potential for volunteering. They require about 75 people a day. They need quite a few, not just in Universal City, but around surrounding area. And the average meal costs about $8.25 roughly. And these are delivered at no cost to the recipients. So it's basically volunteers. I think it's something worthwhile to bring in. I know we are a Universal City volunteer city, so we have a lot of volunteer opportunities around there and support that. And I think that'll be a good initiative for us. And Maribel, I think, has set up a meeting in later this month, or is it October that we've invited them? I can't remember.
I believe it's October 17th.
I know we got the communication. We're looking forward to that one. One other item is throughout the week, I try to do 3 or 4 miles every morning with my pup, and I try to take different routes. Lately, I've been kind of rotating around in the main park area because I'm supposed to stay on some level grounds for a little while. And I get the opportunity to meet anywhere from 10 to 30 people a week that a lot of them I know, I see, a lot of them know that I don't, they're new people. And I tend to ask them get in conversation, not just the old man's asking people about people in the park, and ask them where they live. And I'm getting about 20–25% of the people coming in are actually from out of town. The rest of them are actually in residents in Universal City. And I kind of ask them what brings them in. They're from the surrounding areas. Some things they like is they just like the safety of coming in and utilizing our parks. And they don't just restrict it to one park. They go down to the Linear Park. They go down to the Civil Oak Trail, up to the Vet Park, Red Horse Park, the Big Park. They even use some of the parks in some of the different housing areas. And I go, they loved it. They also like coming up here because we offer a lot of programs and stuff for children. They like our library. They like being able to, the community that we present. I think the council needs to know that what the city does with the monies coming in and making a community, it's effective whenever people from outside of town want to come in and say, we want to live here. We're trying to find homes here. And in many cases, they just can't find one that's the right size for them. But anyway, putting that together on that one, that's really all I have for that at this point in time. And we'll go to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is all matters listed under this item can be considered for routine unless items are removed from. And does anybody have any desire to remove anything? Or discuss separately, then I'll take a motion.
Move to approve with the minutes as amended.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second?
Yes, sir. Second.
Oh, did you second? Okay. Call for the vote. Excuse me, any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That carries over. And next we have an executive session where we're going to retire, consult with the attorney to discuss the preliminary and pending litigation title, case number 2024CV06511. And we're going to adjourn at this point in time, and we should be back in a short time.
Ashton on real quick.
So do we roll?
Councilmember Bulman, she can sign in, call back in.
You're good.
Somebody's back. Somebody's happy.
Yes.
Recording in progress.
Uh-oh. I have witnesses.
There she is. Reconvening at 7:40. And I'm going to ask for a motion to allow the attorney to proceed as discussed in the executive session.
So moved.
Oh, thank you.
So a motion.
A motion to allow the attorney to proceed as discussed in executive session.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I will call for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman. Councilmember, you're on mute.
Aye. Sorry. Aye.
You're good. Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
No.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, proposed budget tax rate, tab B, resolution 909E2024 FY25 budget adoption. Call for a vote to approve.
Motion on that.
Point of clarification, this is for the adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
Move to approve.
We don't have to do that?
I'll say all those things.
No,
No? Okay.
So I got a, who made the motion? And do a second.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem, second. Discussion? Mr. Clark?
I said, if you can clarify on you mentioned in the golf budget that you had added additional money for based on what we're calling a consultant or to come and look at the golf course.
business plan.
Is that something that we can be involved in terms of picking the vendor and maybe having some communication with them during that process?
Well, we'll have to determine what that price is, determine if we go out for an RFP, if we go through the RFP process. Obviously, we're going to involve council on that, but as we go further along that, we can keep you apprised of what we're doing and you can give us some direction on how you'd like us to go about selecting them.
Okay. Just a comment for my own sake. I'm still not happy about the venue tax going there, but this is a step in the right direction to try to help get the golf course off the venue tax. So that was one of the things that I asked staff to do in this budget to get my vote. I'm willing to approve this budget tonight with that in there. So thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman. Aye. Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal,
Nay.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Tab carries. Tab C, Resolution 909D, 2024, resolution by the City Council of the City of Universal City, Texas, ratifying the property tax increase reflected in the adopted budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. Requesting a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Putt. Second. Okay. Discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman. Aye. Councilmember Rubal,
No.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Approved. Tab D, vote for acceptance. Ordinance 656E 2024, an ordinance setting the ad valorem tax rate for 2024 at 0.514382 per $100 of appraised value and appointing a tax assessor collector, first reading.
This is the one where on your motion, you will need to state your maintenance and operation, your debt service, and your total tax rate, which is on the second page of your ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the maintenance and operations of, and yell at me if I start reading the wrong numbers, 0.436882, a debt service or INS rate of 0.077500 for a total 2024 Goolsby Vaughan rate of 0.514382.
Second.
Point of clarification, it's the 2023 tax rate. Budgets move forward, tax rates move backward. I know it probably says 2020. No, it's the 2023 tax rate.
It should be this year's tax rate.
Yes, 2024, I'm sorry, yes. 2025 budget, 2024 tax rate. I apologize.
You got it.
Make sure we don't have any missteps.
Okay, we have a motion, second?
I'll second.
I hear a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Vaughn.
It's on.
Discussion? Call for the vote? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one clarification, Ms. Green, if you could just answer that tax rate is going to give us the revenue that we have in the budget in the general and debt service funds as we have in the budget we just approved.
Yes, sir, as long as collections stay with that, and now we'll have exactly what we're projecting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Call for the vote?
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bulman. Aye. Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
No.
Motion carries.
tab D, approved. With that being said, meeting adjourned at 8:44. 7:44, I'm sorry. 7:44, I'm sorry.
I said 7:55.
So,
Bye.
Okay.